one major place that you differ with your opponent?
I think I differ from my opponent philosophically in believing that the role of government is to be small, and that we should not be raising taxes on individuals. I mean, right now, people are struggling in this economy. I mean, we've knocked on 30,000 doors. We know families are struggling. And to say that we can raise taxes and that we need more government now is exactly the opposite thing. And that's what I believe my opponent believes.
Where I differ with my opponent, most of the time he doesn't know where he does differ with me. Because I'm not for more regulations, and I'm not for more taxes, and if you recall in my presentation, I said I actually work to reduce fees on individuals in this state. So I differ with Jeff because sometimes he just doesn't really understand what I stand for, and he takes and makes assumptions about those kind of things. But I'm very much against more taxes. I'm very much against more regulations for our small businesses. So that's where we differ. He just needs to get his facts right.
I think our differences are probably more pronounced on the national level and with national issues than they are state issues. I have understood Nina to say numerous times her support for the current administration and a lot of the policies of the current administration in Washington, whether it be the health care program or some of the other things that have happened up there the last year or two. And frankly, as I look at the massive debt that's being piled on our grandchildren, as I look at the massive new intrusion into our everyday lives that have taken place based on the legislation of the last year or two up there, I just can't agree with her on that. And so I guess that would be the biggest difference that we have.
I'll take my opponent up on that. We do differ. We do differ on that. And the reason why I support President Obama's policy, especially the TARP fund and the money for bailing out the three big companies. First of all, most Americans don't even know the TARP fund is being paid back by 8% at an 8% interest to the taxpayer. Also, the money that was assisted for the bailout has saved over 1 million jobs. Not only that, most people don't even know that the funds that were used for the stimulus bailout, 1/3 of those funds were actually tax cuts. And so I think what needs to happen is the individuals need to know that that money is being paid back. Those tax cuts are being given, and we will continue to do, the administration hopefully will continue to do those things that will help spur the economy. And we know that those cuts were, the stimulus funds, that initiative was by President Bush. And so I'm going to end on that.
Dr. Paulson. This is the year of the political outsider in campaigns, and yet 3 of you have either held office or are currently holding office. So my question to you is, do you consider yourself an insider or an outsider? And whether an insider or an outsider, is that a criteria that voters should look at in deciding whether to support you?
I'm assuming that's to all of us?
Yes.
Great, I'm going to answer that first. I am here to tell you I'm living proof that I'm an outsider. And let me tell you something. This has been a very challenging race, but you know what? It gives me the opportunity to really share with the people what it is to be an outsider, to not have those connections, to be able to get all those big union endorsements, and to not have that connection to, to have your coffers full of those special interest money and lobbyist money. But it has been a fantastic race. I've had the opportunity to go out there and reach the voters, to connect with them on a one-on-one basis, to really talk to them about those things that are most important. And you know, if you really go out there, and it's the litmus test, if you go out there and really ask the voters, you know, what type of person that they want back in Tallahassee, they'll tell you they want someone, they trust someone who doesn't have those deep connections. And so it's been a pleasure to run this race. Thank you.
I think that most of you in this room know how independent Jack Latvala is. Yes, I'm a member of the majority party, but when I was a majority leader of the Florida Senate in the first term, when we had a Republican governor, a Republican House, and a Republican Senate at the same time, there were numerous occasions that are well archived in the archives of the St. Petersburg Times to show the disagreement and how many times I stood up to Governor Jeb Bush when I thought he was wrong. You know, I'm a guy who calls it as I see it. I think that was documented in the editorial endorsements in both papers. I think I can't find the passage I was looking for, so I won't take the time to look for it. But and it's also, I think, documented by the fact that in all those endorsements I've got business, I've got labor, I've got doctors, I've got nurses. I've got all sides of every important issue because people know how independent